Hello everyone and welcome back to the European Parliament. We are Stand Up for Europe and we're going to have our 6th episode of the Lunch Talks. Today actually is quite a special day because I'm having with me my new colleague Maxime, and in fact also because today we're talking about some of the recent challenges that the European Union has been facing, such as cyber attacks, right?
Yeah, and therefore we decided to talk to the member of ITRE committee from Portugal, Vania Neto, and she will tell us about cybersecurity, innovations and competitiveness.
Okay, let's go find her.
Okay, let's go. Hello, nice to meet you today. So first of all, we know that you had a career of more than 12 years in Microsoft, and we think it's outstanding and impressive. But what do you think of working in the European Parliament, because that was probably a new experience for you? Can you tell us more what was your main challenges during this period?
Yeah, to be honest, it was just amazing experience so far. As you told us, so I've been working in Microsoft now for 12 years, almost 13. And it was kind of out of the blue because I had to replace Maria da Graça Carvalho, who became a minister in the Portuguese government. And to be honest, so far I think one of the best things for me is really the experience of knowing how it really works behind the scenes. So I've studied law a long time ago, but the house of democracy, the fact that you have a parliament with 27 countries, 27 countries representatives elected directly, for me this is amazing, and a really very big sign of how strong democracy can be. And so for me the best thing was to meet all these people from different countries, different origins, and understanding a bit more how politics works.
That's very interesting. And coming back to innovations, you have mentioned Maria da Graça Carvalho, who recently became a minister in Portugal, and she once said that innovation is based on heritage in Europe, and it's our advantage. But what do you think about innovations in Europe?
Well, I think that one of the, I think Graça is right. So our heritage is something that really helps us innovate. The fact that we have this strong background, the fact that Europe have been a land of innovators ever since the beginning. And I think now we are in a verge of a new world, and we really need to, boost that innovation, use our strong background, our history, our values, to make sure that we can continue to innovate and make a sense of what is happening right now in the world. The thing is that we know that other geographies are also innovating, and sometimes it feels like at a stronger pace than we are. But I think to mix these two, to balance these two things, on one hand heritage, and be faithful to our principles, to the rule of law and to human rights, is one thing, and using that history and all the background that we have to innovate and to change the world for a better place. I think that's what innovation should do.
Yeah, and then to change the world to a better place, what are the areas that we may be lagging behind and should receive more attention during the next mandate in Europe?
Well, I think there's three hot topics. One of them, of course, is climate change, so the green transition and how we are going as Europe to lead that. Europe wants to lead that ecological change and this sustainability, and I think that we have the right, I think, regulation to do that, but we also need to take a look into that and to make sure that that will not stop us from growing and from becoming, of course, better as a whole world. Because if it's only Europe caring about sustainability, it's not going to happen, right? So it has also to include some diplomacy, making sure that we have other geographies also supporting this. The second thing for me, for sure, is technology and the verge of AI. The fact that we are now with a new revolution, a big one that we don't know yet everything that is to come, and that is going to be one of the challenges for the next 5 years, is how we combine regulation of AI with innovation and making sure that we can use AI for a better, for good, and making sure that, for example, issues that have not yet been solved in humanity can be helped through AI. And last but not least, everything that has to do with geopolitics and the fact that we are in a very tense moment with wars happening along the and of course one in Ukraine very close to all of us, and we have to continue that support to Ukraine, making sure that we will, as Europe, become stronger after this. And so I think these are the three main important topics. Underlying all of this, I think we have to continue helping our people to reskill, upskill, making sure that everyone knows how to deal better with technology, become more productive, and as Europe, we are stronger in terms of workforce.
Thank you. How do you see the balance between remaining innovative and competitive? Because recently the problem of competitiveness has been raised a lot, especially during the Commission President debate. So what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest challenges of Europe, because as I said, I think 2 days ago in a keynote, regulation means that you impose yourself limits to a certain power. So when we decide that there's a power that needs to be regulated, it's because we as a society understand that that power can come out of control and it needs some ethical principles behind so that it can be used in a proper way. And this is the same. So when we are doing, and of course the regulation in Europe is very important. For example, the GDPR, we have set standards for the world, and well, because we want to protect, of course, people's rights, privacy, etc. The same now with AI regulation. So we are setting the standards for the world and making sure that AI and technology are used with transparency, making sure that the data is properly used, that it has a human supervision, everything that everyone would agree, but in a way that of course it can be understood by people, right? And that is the big question, and how you mix that regulation and innovation at the same time, because I totally understand and reading through, for example, the Data AI Act or the Data Services Act, etc. It's almost not understandable by common people because it's very dense. It has a lot of regulation, a lot of articles. Even for me as a jurist, it's very complex. So I think that we have, going forward, to smoothen that a bit and simplify the rules, simplify regulation in a way that people can understand, and especially companies, startups, that it will not prevent innovation. So regulation cannot prevent innovation, it should boost it in a proper way or in the right way.
Thank you. And with regard to digital transformation, the 2023 report on the state of the digital decade, cybersecurity is mentioned as one of the objectives of the digital decade. And the increasing amount of fake news, especially with the use of AI, as we just mentioned, will only increase in the future. How the Parliament will address these challenges to protect citizens?
Well, I think that is part of that third pillar that I told you about the fact that we have some wars happening, but the war now is not only with weapons, it's also with cyber attacks. Yeah. And of course everyone is vulnerable to that. It can happen, not only the war, if you think more between states, and you can have the Russians or the Chinese attacking or whatever, but also that war or that I think pandemic of fake news, and we have to prevent that. So the Commission and the Parliament, and of course the European Union as a whole, in this past 5 years have issued a lot of regulation regarding cybersecurity. Even the change that have been made now recently, both with the Cyber Resilience Act or the one regarding the network security, so the NIS now 2. This is very important to make sure that all the countries will have the same level of security, because you cannot have a European Union working properly if the countries are very diverse. So we have to really bet on cybersecurity for the next years to make sure that our people are protected, that everyone knows how to detect fake news, because that can really, as we've seen in many places, that can even interfere in democracy and the way people understand and perceive politics and perceive and understand some other topics. So this is something that will have to be top on the agenda. I believe it will be not only on that report that you just mentioned, but forthcoming, every country has to transpose the directive of the NIS 2 directive on cybersecurity, and I'm hopeful that that will also help the countries raise the standards. But with that has to come also training and education for people. People need to understand that when they receive an email that says that you have won $10,000, whatever, of course it's fake. But when you receive a video for someone telling you that they have bought a fantastic product that will change their lives and they are youth forever, of course you need to understand when deep fake is happening and you are being, of course, fooled. So this also comes not only as for public entities to support and protect the digital and critical services that we have, water, electricity, etc., but also for the regular people, how they can prevent being attacked, both economically and, of course, as a citizen.
Yeah, mentally probably.
Yeah, also mentally. You can be sure that's also a pandemic.
And when talking about cybersecurity, it's impossible not to ask about the social media called TikTok, which is closely linked to Chinese government. What do you think about the future of TikTok in Europe and its impact on our cybersecurity?
Well, I think that TikTok, as any other social media or platforms that operate in Europe, they have to comply with European regulation. So if they do, of course, they can be in the market and people are free to download it, to use it, of course, following ethical standards. I think that if they do not comply, of course, they cannot operate. But as long as they do, I don't see why that's a problem. I think people and users can do that with their own freedom. They can really do that choice. I personally do not have TikTok, but I understand that people freely can download it and use it as long as they respect European regulation.
Yeah. Thank you. And the last question is, Cyber Resilience Act was proposed by the European Commission in 2022. There hasn't been a major update on its status in the media in the last 6 months, I checked. So what is its future, and could it be an effective way to address future possible attacks from China, Iran or Russia?
Well, as I was mentioning before, so alongside this geopolitical instability, there is a big elephant in the room because every day now is interconnected. Everything is interconnected, right? There's no operation of water supplies, there's no operation of electricity, there's no operation of companies nowadays without technology. So I had once a conversation with a friend that had a big company back in Portugal, and they are, manufacturing industry, and he was very proud because he had put alarms and everything in his system and his facilities. And I just asked him, okay, that's perfect, but what do you do with your data, the data from your customers? How do you do the invoices and everything? And he looked at me like in panic. He said, oh, I have no clue. I don't know what that is. Where it is, where is it? Where is the data center? Where do you have that? What is the security behind it? So companies, especially SMEs, they really need help in this cyberspace. So if we want to make Europe a stronger market, and if we want to make sure that our companies will innovate, they have to have their data protected. They have to have their infrastructures protected, not only the facilities, the physical ones, but also, data is the new oil. So all the data that they have regarding their IP or whatever that they are building or purchasing, okay? So in this case, I believe that this Cyber Resilience Act is, I think, good enough. They do not need extra, at least for the moment, extra regulation. What it needs countries to really stay up to that and use that and the tools that we have right now to boost it. For sure, it has to come with a new funding. So the new budget and the financial investments for the next 5 years should increase for cybersecurity and cyber resilience of both, of course, public institutions, but also from our SMEs and companies, because from that depends also the way we are going to respond to crisis that will come, but also in terms of innovation and competitiveness. If you lose your data, then you cannot innovate, right? So it's a part, it comes with a job, and for the next 5 years, having extra budget for this, have extra European funding that can be easily accessed, because that is also another problem that whenever you need to apply to European funds, it seems a bit too bureaucratic. So simplifying the access, but funding it more and increasing and pushing for cybersecurity resilience in Europe, I think it's very important for our economy.
Thank you. And to wrap up, finally, what are the 3 strongest and weakest sides of the European transformation, innovation, and digital transformation?
Well, I think on the positive side, I would put it in two ways.
Yeah.
So regulation, for me, it's positive because you really, limit your power, and you have really a strong foundation to innovate. But on the other side of the coin, regulation could also be a bit restrictive in some cases, and especially for small companies, it can be really spooky. Because if you are like 2 or 3 entrepreneurs building a startup, and you just look into AI Act and you think, oh my God, what is this, right? I can never end reading this or even understand. So it can be a bit scaring that you have to buy or to have, you know, law consulting just to start a company, right? So the two sides of the coin, I think it's positive and negative. Also on the positive side, I think the fact that Europe is standing and is raising up for the challenge of protecting both human rights and also at the same time economic growth. I think this is one very important aspect. And on the negative side, I think that the fact that fake news are still proliferating and we are not yet have the capability to finish that and to make sure that we have a more resilient market, that is also something that I would not see that positive. Because there's a big adversity to change, and some countries, of course, in some public entities, they are not yet there. So they have still a long way to go, not only in terms of skilling their people, but also understanding why it is important to innovate, but of course secure and be cyber secure in this new world. Just to finish, I think that one of the most positive things in Europe is the fact that we have such amazing programs for youth, and that we cherish our young people so much. And I do really think that all young people should really feel not only, you know, Portuguese, Spanish, whatever, but European. And we have this culture of mixing and have Erasmus and all of the important programs that we have for youth. You should really use that to make sure that together we can build a better Europe, but especially making sure that people and young people will have the right skills for the future, and that governments and European Union should really have extra funding, extra capability, making sure that people will have the right skills, because we don't know what is going to happen in the next 5 years, but we do know that human skills are more important than ever, and we need good humans and people that have the heart in the right side and have the, you know, the foundation and the ethical foundation is also very strong. So I would say that keeping investing in youth in Europe, it's very important for our future as well.
Thank you so much for this interview. Me and the team of Stand Up for Europe is very grateful for this fruitful conversation with you. It was very interesting.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well, that was a very interesting conversation that you're having with Mrs. Vania Neto, and yeah, especially because we're talking about the challenges that the European Parliament is facing right from here, from the hemicycle in Brussels.
Yes, we learned much more what the European Parliament will have to do regarding our cybersecurity and innovation in the next 5 years.
Yeah, so stay tuned for our next episodes. See you soon.
See you.